I said when I was 9 that I wanted to be a director. And I was doing a film by a producer called Roger Corman, who does like horrible B movies and like, they're great, really cheesy movies from like the 80s. And the director really was very sweet to me, and he asked me if what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I said I wanted to be a director, and he said, okay, well, do you want to direct a scene in the movie? And I was like, yeah, sure, like totally cocky, thinking like, no problem, this little 9-year-old. And he goes, okay, well, why don't you do it today? And it's this scene. And he brought me into the set, and he was like, how do you want to start it? And all this sort of stuff. And I got totally gun shy, and I freaked out, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And so ever since then, I've really like not gone anywhere near directing. I've just been like, it's not something I could do. I could never do that. And then 3 years ago, I was approached by the producers of the show. And they said, is that something that you'd be interested in doing? And I was like, no. And then they asked me again, and I said no. And then they asked me a third time, and I was walking with a friend of mine in Brooklyn, New York, and I was like, they just called and asked me if I would direct again. My friend was like, are you kidding? Do it. Do all of it. Just do it. And I was like, okay. So I called them back and committed. And it's been like 1.5 years of just like me trying to learn as much as I can before I start, because I think it's a big job that deserves a lot of respect. And then I started just hanging out with all my film geek friends. Like we just started ramping it up, and we started hanging out like once a week and just really discussing films and talking about films and understanding from a technical position. And then I started directing little like practice scenes and short films for film schools and things like that. And then I would do shot lists and practice shot lists and writing out what I wanted the scene to look like and things like that to show to the directors and producers on Smallville and get feedback from them. And then I got my script last week, and I've been spending the week just sort of doing story notes and trying to figure out the best way to make it as cool as I can. And I have a friend who's been mentoring me and helping me out as far as like teaching me how to write story notes and like how to pitch story notes to writers and all that sort of stuff, because I don't know how to do any of that. And and then I'm just gonna go. I shadowed a couple of directors of the show that I thought were really masterful at what they did, and just tried to watch and take in as much as I could from them. But I mean, you can talk about playing the cello for so long until you actually just have to pick up and play the friggin' instrument. Nietzsche said that art is the one thing that separates human beings from animals, and I believe that because we're the only creatures on earth that create just for the sake of creating. We're also the only creatures on earth that pass things down that aren't necessarily instinctual. So we're able to evolve in a way that's much more effective and much more strategic because we express and we make permanent imprints in film and words and music. And so we build on each other. And I think that's amazing. Like, what an incredible gift that we can give to each other now and for future generations. And so being a part of communities that collaborate to create things like that is, I think, one of the most valuable things I can do.